Hello and welcome to the 46th episode of the Randomer Nintendo Podcast. I am your host for the day. I am Jason, and beside me, virtually, we have our fellow contributors, our fellow hosts. On my virtual left, let's say, we have Angel.
Angel.
And there's an echo in here. And on my virtual right, we have Kevin.
Kevin.
And I'm Jason. Oh, no one echoes me. I guess that makes sense. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying to remember. I feel like I did this last time too. Like looking back at the last 2 weeks, like did anything happen?
Let's shake up the question. Wait, let's shake up the question. Where are you and what are you doing besides talking on a podcast right now? Do you have a beverage next to you? Are you in a comfortable climate? It's very hot in LA. Are you wearing something funny? What's going on right now? Paint a scene for the listener of your current exact setup.
I would rather not, because then it will out me, and then I will have to have a talk with Jason after. So I will pass.
It sounds like you're saying you're doing something else while you're recording. Scandalous.
I did not
Are you
say
playing
that.
Lorcana?
I did not say that at all.
Okay.
All right, fine. For transparency, because, you know, Angel,
yes.
I'm trying to turn over a new leaf for visibility. No, I am not playing Lorcana, but there are 2, 3, 4 boxes full of Lorcana cards near me that I was sorting into their respective.
Keep your hands busy while your mind's
alphabetical,
active.
And just because we've reached that point already where, it's a, what's the word? It's become a self-sustaining economy. It has been, but now it's more organized so, because I've reached a point where I have just about 4 copies of every common card. So basically anytime I buy a pack, there's really maybe 1 or 2 cards in a pack that I won't have. And everything else I just put in a box that will be taken to Frankenson's, which, if you don't remember from a couple episodes ago, is like a collector's trade show. And I take them there to sell, usually for like, either when you take a whole bag of like recyclables and they give you like a couple cents. It's basically that, but you know, it's better than throwing the cards away. And this way I keep the bulk out of the way. Some money comes back. Sometimes I'm surprised and I'll get $20 back or more from just the extra bulk. Because
I only $20 go right back into Lorcana? Is that like 3 more booster packs at that point?
Yeah,
or 2 more?
For the most part, it does go back into a Lorcana pool of sorts for the next set. Because usually what I'll do is I'll just buy 1 or 2 booster boxes from the winnings from the previous set. And then that's all the packs I'll pretty much buy, unless like, you know, random special occasion or something. And everything else, just goes towards the next set. Like any rare cards I pull, which is usually where the self-sustaining part comes. Like I pulled recently I don't know if you remember who Prince Naveen is. Did you ever watch Princess and the Frog?
Yes, I did. And there's a alligator that plays a saxophone, I believe.
Ah, well, this is a friend of the alligator, I believe. Well, it's just the guy that was also turned into one of the titular frogs. Or I guess it actually is the titular frog in this point. And they have a $200 card. So I was able to flip that, just put it toward the next set, just keep it going.
Nice.
So thankfully, nowhere near as hectic as it was with the Yu-Gi-Oh piles. Definitely not. You know, learn those lessons. Sorting cards
I've jokingly teased you about how you got into Lorcana, being like, you know, you said you're going to get 1 pack, and now here you are. Like, that's been an ongoing thing. But I'm in full transparency to you, if we're talking transparency this episode, the second that Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket app comes out, and it was just dated to come out Halloween weekend now, like October 30th or 31st. The second that happens, I have no ground to stand on with you anymore, because I can already tell if it plays like Marvel Snap, if it's that quick, but it's Pokemon and it has the nostalgia, it has the old cards in it. I already know that. They've shown it. If there's a Bidoof in it, like I'm down that rabbit hole so fast. So
I'm looking forward to that.
I would like to humbly revoke all the teasing I've done of your Lorcana obsession for the past 18 months and hope you don't throw it back at me in about 2 months, but I know it's going to happen, and I accept.
I eagerly await and I'm excited for that. I mean, it'll be a 3rd game that you open your phone for, besides Go and Bloom. But
I don't really play Go anymore, although I did open Go for the first time in forever today randomly. But I do play, maybe this is a sign of being a middle-aged person now. I've gotten into, Rachel and I now do multiple New York Times word games daily back and forth because they have little leaderboards. So Wordle, Connections, and the mini crossword. The mini crossword is solid stuff.
Keeps
It's like
the mind
rapid fire.
sharp,
It's
as they
Marvel
say.
Snap crossword. It's that fast. Like you have like a minute and a half to like, yeah. So
you know, that kind of sounds like fun. Or maybe it's because
You don't have a minute and a half. You just have
you have as much time as you need, but it's usually in like a minute and a half to do. Or do you mean for Snap? I mean for crossword.
for crossword.
Like it's quick. It's like if you compare like a full card game to Marvel Snap, mini crossword is the Marvel Snap of a crossword. Great analogy I'm doing here. I could tell. Whew.
I think you finish a Marvel Snap game in about 5-ish minutes or less. And I guess a typical Lorcana game would be like 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So if Lorcana is crossword, mini crossword in the New York Times app, which is free to play, I'm not promoting, is like Marvel Snap to Lorcana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring on the TCGs. I mean, it makes sense. Disney would be the one to get me back into this. And yeah, it's fun. I have a good source of local friends, both coworkers and non-coworker friends that play it. And not to mention, D23 happened recently, and while there were a lot of movie announcements, yeah, Lorcana, as expected, if Nintendo were to have done the TCG, like, it has warped my mind in the sense of how I look at Disney now. Because now it's not just like, oh, Moana 2, like, what are your thoughts on that movie? Oh, I wonder what new cards we're going to get from that. I'm like, oh, a new villain, I wonder what kind of, effects they're going to have. Like, it's just what cards am I going to get from these things. So if anything,
Yeah, it's like you saw
I'm
the
looking
reveal
forward
of a
to more.
game and you're like, who's coming to Smash? Yeah.
Yeah, so sequels, like, where before I'd be more cynical about sequels to any Pixar or Disney movie, now it's like, oh, cool, more of this character. Or sometimes I guess it could be the other way around. It's like, I don't know if we need any more Annas and Elsas in Marvel Snap and Lorcana, because, Jesus, there's so many Annas and Elsas. And, of course, there are many, many more to come. But it's all good, because there's also 12 Donalds, and only one of them is good. But that's kind of how it goes. I mean,
so they don't. Wow. So I don't remember the exact
3 of those Donalds are legendary rarity, and I would say one of them is barely playable. And yeah, but maybe it's a reference to Donald's theme song. I remember the last line is, "Who gets stuck with all the bad luck? No one but Donald Duck." So yeah, maybe it's just that. Which is kind of a shame. But I guess it's on brand, so that's fine. What you were saying, Kevin, though, before I interrupted?
No. Just the fact that I didn't know, or I didn't remember that the variants can have different stats and different effects.
Oh, yeah. You have... some are amazing. Like, right now, I would say the character with the most range is probably Robin Hood, who has one of the best legendaries in the game that you could just kind of, they're kind of like a staple. You just kind of splash them in there and he's going to do well. And he also has a bunch of little cheapy ones. But it's also like Pokemon, where you have the very low-cost Robin Hood that's just well-statted, which lets you perfectly evolve into the really expensive Robin Hood, which is also really, really good. So pretty much, it kind of unfortunate, but, the game is only a year old. So if you're fighting someone that uses the silver color, they have Robin Hoods. I don't use Robin Hoods.
How well versed are you in Lorcana, Kevin? Do you play? Do you collect? You don't seem like the Disney guy. Yeah, that's what I figured. But you seem to have a better grasp of it than me, at least.
I literally just said that I didn't know that all of them had different stats.
But you knew there were multiples of them.
I didn't.
That's more than me.
I didn't know that there was
all right, fair.
Yeah, it's how they keep, it's how they're going to basically let this run forever. You have Elsa
of course,
if she was a knight. You have Elsa if she was just normal. You have Elsa.
Right.
Just like, it's just what if. It's like, what if Marvel.
Frozen 1 Elsa, Frozen 2 Elsa, Frozen 3 Elsa, Frozen 4 Elsa.
Except
all
they call
which
it
are
the
movies that are happening.
Yeah, except it's all like, I guess the Lorcana side of it. That's just, instead of a multiverse, it's just like Imagination Land. So, in a nutshell.
We can do whatever we want. We're writing a blank check to ourselves first. Yeah.
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 But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's been pretty much it.
So that's your
kind of
your
here.
current setup.
I started going to the gym. I mean, kind of on the opposite end of things. Literally just started. So hopefully next podcast, I'm not like, so I went to the gym and I stopped. Usually around
That'd be me. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the tough part. This is like where I know, like, if I miss a day for whatever reason, even if it's a legitimate reason, it's usually when it's hard to get back on the train. So we'll see. I mean, no,
I went.
it will. I'll keep it up. There we go. I need to do that positive talk. None of this. I hope it will. But yeah.
I went 1 week in college during the summer, and I was like, cool, I'm going to the gym, and I have not been back since. And that was
Really
over
Not
a decade
sin-
ago.
Well, you do walk a ton, so I guess
I do walk a lot. I do like
there's
walking around because Pikmin Bloom bribes me to walk by giving me Pikmin. But
Like a Nintendo keeping you alive.
I know. Nintendo and my Apple Watch. Gotta fill my rings, gotta get my Pikmin seeds. Yeah, if I didn't have weird corporations forcing me to do things, what would be
Be on the
my
couch all
existence?
day,
I don't
yeah.
know. I know.
Well, actually,
What about you,
no,
Kevin?
No, because Comic-Con
never
also
mind.
keeps you incredibly active. I mean, you kind of have to make
Brands
sure,
again. Brands.
Yeah,
all
you
brands.
have to make sure you build that stamina for Comic-Con. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't last as long as you do standing in line and all that.
Yeah, I don't even train for Comic Con. Train for Comic Con.
It's
Good
like a
God, what am I
marathon.
saying? I
Some
don't.
people do the LA
I don't do
marathon,
Comic
some
Con
people
training. No.
Comic-Con like Jason and Kevin.
I used to think Anime Expo was my warm up for Comic Con, and I didn't do that the last couple of years. So then, standing in line for the Josh Gambino pop up, I talked about a couple episodes ago. I was like, "Oh, this is my warm up," and then standing in line for the bear sandwich a couple weeks ago, which I think I talked about here too. I was like, "Oh, that's my warm up." 2 hours in the sun, I got this. But yeah, no, I don't warm up. I don't train for Comic Con. But everything I do is brand or even the music, like that's a brand behind it. They're making a brand of Josh Gambino. So yeah, my corporate overlords are very happy with me. But what about you, Kevin? You haven't had a chance to say anything. What are you up to right now? What's your current situation around? Paint a picture for everybody.
All right, so to my left monitor, I have the Randomer Nintendo 46 notes up, or the docket.
Okay.
I've got Discord
Nice.
running. Here on my main ultra widescreen monitor, I have obviously Audacity. That's what I use. Eventually I will get to using what's Adobe's. What's their suite called?
Creative Cloud?
No,
Audition?
no. Audition, yeah. Eventually, I'll get to.
You meant their specifically their audio.
Yes.
Suite. Yeah, that makes
Their
sense.
audio.
That would have been a more
Jason.
logical answer. I know. Well, technically, it's all part of Creative Cloud. I wasn't wrong. I just wasn't fully right.
Yeah. Eventually, I want to trans over to using Audition. Don't know
Yeah,
when
you
that's
weren't
going
full
to
on
happen.
right.
But that's Audacity just on half of the monitor. On the other half, I have Marvel Snap running. Currently
course,
rank 69. Nice.
Nice.
I'm 2 cubes away from hitting 70s, which is typically where I land during a season. Not that I care about getting any higher, but I kind of just want to get out of the slumps of the 70s. I've hit an infinite twice before, so I know I can do it, but it's just a matter of...
So this is your third lap going through, it sounds like.
My third? No, this is like the 10th or 11th season that I play.
Oh, right, because they reset every season.
Yeah,
So those,
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the fact that it's every month is crazy. Like, I'm already...
Yeah.
I miss Hearthstones, not that they went anywhere, but I like that they only did 3 sets a year.
Mhm.
But Lorcana does 4 sets a year, which feels like just really fast for a physical card game. Because, like every 3 months, it's like, oh, here's a new 220 cards. Like Marble Snap every month felt... They only had, like, I guess a handful of cards, so it's not too bad. But those months that you
It's like a dozen.
made it
It's like a
to-
couple dozen, right? For
They
Marvel Snap?
release basically
For the change?
3 or 4 new cards every month.
Oh, it's that few?
At some
For
point.
some reason, I thought it was more.
The meta
it's
subtly
a lot.
changes, but it changes.
It's a lot. Like, I'm impressed by how often they release cards, honestly.
Have they started like releasing not just like, because obviously they have art variants of every card, but like another Iron Man that has a completely different effect, but is still like Iron Man specifically, or do you still just have
no.
that one Iron Man?
No, Iron Man is still doing Iron Man stuff. Like,
Still double.
they haven't made.
Until he gets reskinned as Doctor Doom, am I right? No? Okay.
I mean,
I don't
like,
get it.
I'm sure
The casting news.
No, I think with Marvel they have so many characters that they won't ever have to like reuse them.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess between like Shuri and Iron Lad, they've had ways to kind of, oh, and I guess even Rescue can have similar-ish effect. No, not really. I
No,
forgot what she did.
Rescue has
Oof.
a completely different effect
Yeah.
from. And now that I think about it, I don't know if any characters that are within the same property necessarily do the same thing. There's very, very little do characters within the same quote unquote property will they actually like synergize with each other.
I guess the Spider-Mans are all movement-based, sort of.
The Spider-Man, and there's going to be an upcoming Spider-Man season. A couple of new Spider people, but I'm trying to think. I mean, yeah, Ghost Spider moves around, Silk moves around, Spider-Man moves around. Yeah,
I guess Miles doesn't really. He's like, if
Miles is
cheaper.
dependent. Yeah, he becomes a one cost if there was movement in the last turn.
Oh, but still movement
From
related.
either side. Yeah, but it's still movement. So I guess the Spider people definitely do have some synergy.
But that month, or those months that you hit Infinite, were those months that you were hitting it extra hard, or were you just like that on top of the meta that you're like, yeah, nothing surprised me, I got this?
I was very on top of the meta for those 2 seasons. Like now, I just play decks that I want to play, and hoping that I can make it to Infinite with these decks. I'm having a lot of success with a Blink deck, that's carried me from 40 to now 70. So. But I know that it's absolutely not the meta right now.
So just to, I guess, bring closure to our situations, I don't have a cool setup like you guys. I'm not counting cards. I do have multiple screens. It's me, GarageBand, on a tiny laptop with a tiny microphone in a tiny closet with a tiny amount of AC that's actually working. So I'm wearing a cooling eye patch like a bandana around my neck. It's hot pink.
Like I said, I don't know why you just don't attempt to record outside.
Oh, because the cats will meow and stuff. This is a test. The closet door is open, and one of the cats is right outside the door.
But have you tried doing it?
Yes,
like,
today's the test.
Actually, and then the meowing was just too much?
This is the test right now. We're going to see. So if there's any meows or anything over the course of this recording, we will know if it works. Or we just make the cats a fun cameo and they just come over all the time and it's just a regular thing.
I can't imagine the meowing being that annoying. I say bring them up.
If they want to play, if specifically Coco, the lady cat, wants to play, she will meow incessantly.
Bring
out
them
of
on.
love. But
we have
all
questions.
Right. Well, the door's open. We'll see if anyone saunters over.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm rocking my stylish pink cold. Here's how hot it is. The eye thing that was cooled in the fridge is not cold anymore, and it's only been 18 minutes. So now I'm just wearing an eye patch around my neck, or an eye mask. I mean, but yeah, we do have a fair amount. Now we know how we're all situated. We do have a fair amount on the docket today. It looks like. Looks like we all experienced a lot of different things over the last couple of weeks: movies, shows, games.
Well, those were literally this weekend. The 2 on the docket that I put.
Well, it counts nonetheless, but I think
it still counts. Okay.
But since I'm playing host, I'm gonna do something we don't typically do. I'm gonna start with a Nintendo experience that happened today, like 4 hours ago. Did you guys watch the Nintendo Museum Direct, which is a sentence I didn't think I'd ever say?
I very carefully skimmed it. I think I watched like the first. Skimmed it. I only watched like the first minute, and then I skipped to the very end just to see if there was any kind of date. And then
there is.
I saw the info, 2nd. And then I'm like, oh, just go to the website, and yeah, we'll look about trying to reserve a lottery.
Right, because you're gonna be in Japan like a few weeks after, aren't you?
Yeah, like 3 weeks after. So I do see the days that I could potentially go are so far have a small influx of people. They have like little diagrams that's like, if it's blue, it means very few people reserved, and if it's red, it means a lot of people did, and those days seem to be good. Maybe because they're around Halloween, and maybe museums and Halloween just don't go together. But
unless it's a costume museum, presumably.
Yeah, but Yeah, so that'd be cool if that works out.
Well, that's cool. You
great.
got a person. Yeah, that's super cool. You gotta go.
I'm not necessarily expecting for it to work out because of,
Sure.
we're taking the whole family and we're very short on time. If it works out, great. That'll be awesome. I'll definitely talk about it. But if we don't get to, I'll just have to probably save it for my solo trip next year or something. But yeah,
I mean, that still sounds like it's happening at some point, so that's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Because I hope to go back to Japan. Japan's at the point now. There's like,
especially
you could
because
do like
Donkey
Nintendo
Kong got
tourism.
delayed. I think. I mean, they haven't.
No, it's still coming this year, though. I thought. Did they
said-
delay it till 2025?
They just haven't said anything. Like it was.
Well, it's different than delayed.
It was
but-
supposed to be summer, and then they just said delayed to third quarter
Fall.
of 2024.
Yeah,
and,
so fall.
and then nothing. But I mean,
But yeah, you can.
I feel like we would have to hear something in the next couple weeks just to deal with reservations and all that kind of stuff.
Probably. Yeah, you're probably right. They may delay it till winter, but I think it's still kind this year. As of Nintendo's last financials, it was still on track for, this year for Japan, I believe.
Well,
'cause
hopefully
of course
it works
I track
out.
these
Come
things.
on, end of October, early November. I feel like the odds are good. I mean, at the very least, there will still be the merch because I know you can get all the merch for the Donkey Kong Land in the gift shop of Nintendo Japan, so we'll still be able to get some stuff. And I know the entrance was already there. Being
Yeah,
worked on the last
the
time I
warp
went.
pipe thing is there. Yeah. The
Yeah, like-
barrel warp pipe.
Yeah, when I went was it last year? I don't even remember anymore. Last January. Yeah, like you had you could hear Congo drums when you get to like this weird area in the back. That was kind of cool. But anyway,
Yeah, I feel like you can totally. I mean, you're not in this case, but like it's so easy to do like a Nintendo tourism trip now. Like you can literally like go on a Nintendo trip. You go to one city, and go to the stores. You go another city, and you go to like the original. One of the Nintendo factories is now a hotel. You could stay there. They could go out to the Nintendo Museum outside of Kyoto, same city, and go there. You can go to the Torii Gates that inspired Star Fox and go there. You can jump to Osaka and go to Super Nintendo World. There's Pokemon stores and Kirby cafes and Nintendo stores all throughout. Like you can do strictly a Nintendo trip.
Ex-Nintendo employees that look really cool.
Yeah, there's bars by ex-Nintendo employees. There's bars that let you play old Famicom games that aren't really affiliated with Nintendo, but are really cool. Went to one of those when I was there. If you want to dip in third party, you got Capcom, you got Namco, you got Sega. Like you could totally do just a first party Nintendo trip, and it will take like 5 days to get through everything, or like 4 days maybe. Like it's actually kind of cool that there's that much now. But yeah, the museum presentation, like I don't know. Kevin, did you watch it?
I did not. I was watching something else.
Fair. It's funny, that presentation, which was 10 minutes long, was at the exact same time as my only meeting at work today, which was 5 minutes long. And like, what are the odds that in a 15-minute window of a 24-hour day, they happen to overlap? But yeah, no, I watched the presentation after that 5. I was kind of like, of course, how silly. And then I went to my 5-minute meeting and then jumped to the 10-minute direct. So it was fine. But I will say that I don't know what I was or wasn't expecting from that 10-minute long presentation, but I'm pretty excited about what they seem to have put together. I mean, I'd be, to be fair, I'd be excited if they just did a walkthrough display of products of Nintendo history, which they do have to some degree up on, it looked like the second floor. Like they have all the consoles, all the first party games, some pre-video game stuff that looks like it might just be kind of funnily crammed into a single display case. At least that's what they showed on the direct. But the whole first floor, like everything they showed, it looks really cool. And it's like a museum in the most Nintendo ways of how they put it together. Like what they've done is create these 8 different interactive exhibits. All of which are activated by scanning a card of like digital coins you receive as your museum ticket. And then each lets you try a different piece of Nintendo history and kind of like a modern interpretation of it, which is kind of cool. And it just seemed like a really cool idea. So I wanted to highlight here what those are and what's kind of interesting about it and what is interesting about Nintendo, what Nintendo's doing, just because it is so fresh. Like as of this recording, like 5 hours ago, we learned all this. So I just wanted to kind of talk about it because I thought it's really cool. Like the first thing they showed, this is maybe the least cool of them all, but the first thing they showed was this thing called Shiguruden. And it's like a screen on a floor. It lets you engage with like poems and illustrations from like old Nintendo cards. You match up the first half of a card, which you have displayed on your smartphone or whatever, or some smart device they give you. And then you have to find the second half of the card, which has art or poems, on a giant screen on the floor that you're walking around. It's like kind of an AR That, you know what it actually kind of is? It's sort of like, do you remember how they had those guides at the Louvre where you use a DS and it like knew where you were in the museum? It could like give you information about what you're looking at right next to you. It seems like they kind of took that tech and just moved it from things on the wall to like a screen on the floor to match up with, which I guess that's kind of cool, but it's just kind of Nintendo's even dipping into like the old like art and poems of various cards they made, which is kind of neat. But the cooler stuff, in my opinion, I really want to highlight, they have this Ultra Machine experience and they have this like Zapper Super Scope experience. And the Ultra Machine, for those who aren't familiar, back in Nintendo's like pre-video game days, it was basically an at-home automatic ball pitching machine, like baseball pitcher. So they set up these little batting cages in the first floor of the museum that kind of mimic the feel of 1970s Japanese homes, but with flourishes of like modern Nintendo references. So depending on what you hit the ball into in this little batting cage, there's little Easter eggs that will occur using like the real world objects in the cage to do like kind of Nintendo winks and nods and references. And each cage is separately themed as a separate room. So kind of like with a video game, they're encouraging replayability, which I thought was kind of funny. It actually turns out this replayability thing is something a little greedy, but they're doing it in a lot of ways. This wasn't in the presentation, but it turns out you can't do all the exhibits off one digital coin card, which is a little cheap of them, but they're trying to encourage you to come back. So you have, I think, 10 coins, and different exhibits will cost different numbers of coins, but you will run out of coins. So you either have to like buy more or you have to like come back on a different reservation on a different day. It's not clear yet, but it's clearly like in the very, video gamey way of like forcing replay value. Possibly. They haven't said. I'm saying it's possible you either just pay up or you have to come back a different day. I'm not clear if it's a crowd control thing or a money grab thing. But either way, it's a very video gamey, like forced replay value of a museum, which is kind of funny. But then there's also this Super Scope and Zapper experience, which takes the old, Super Scope and Zapper from the Super Nintendo and NES. And they kind of marry it with like the old digital shooting ranges that Nintendo made back in the 70s. They used to retrofit bowling alleys and put these huge screens and you would just kind of like shoot at various stuff on screens. Basically like early light gun tech. So here they took that tech and modernized it a bit into like a wall size kind of point blank style light gun thing, but with Mario characters. And I think you're shooting paint on them, which in a weird twist is actually what the original idea for Splatoon was. When they made the prototype, they first played with what Mario characters were in it, and you were shooting at them with paint or water or something. And now it's morphed into like this Nintendo history piece using 70s technology and 80s technology, which is kind of funny. But it's interesting they did it this way because they're showcasing old tech through the lens of modern Nintendo, which I thought was kind of, it's almost as if like this is just another way to sell people on their IP, which ultimately that is the point of the museum. But kind of like as cool as it is and as fun as it looks, it does kind of speak to maybe a downside of a company running their own museum. Like they're going to speak and show the parts of their legacy that put them in the best light and best fit whatever their brand identity is at the time. So that means a light gun game isn't going to be based on hunting or whatever it was in the 70s because Nintendo doesn't use real guns. It's now going to be Mario all of a sudden. So it's like authentic, but it's like kind of not at the same time, which is interesting. And it also means, as you go through the exhibit, if it's a corporate museum, I'm sure the second floor of Nintendo products, they look like they have sections for every console, right? In the video, they show these huge controllers above each section. You go like the NES section, there's like this giant NES controller, and then under it's all the games and the hardware. Didn't look like they had something for Virtual Boy. And, if they were a quote-unquote real, museum curated by an outsider, the Virtual Boy would get its own section, too, of the same scale, probably, But, it's possible they do. I don't want to jump the gun. They didn't show it in the video, and you could easily make the assumption they're also not going to have a lot of the weirder chapters of Nintendo's history. I guarantee there won't be the prototype PlayStation they made with Sony in the Nintendo Museum, but if it was someone else who made the museum, they'd probably try and find a way to get one. So it's obviously they're going to keep stuff within their brand guidelines and give everything a very polished perspective for what the company wants to look like in that given time. But it's just, I guess, something to be mindful of with any corporate museum is I noticed it was very much the good Nintendo narrative, not like the weird stuff, not the bizarre stuff, just kind of look at all these cool achievements we had. Of course, the upside of a company being involved to this degree is that means the resources are involved to the same degree of that company. So that does lead to some cool stuff, which is the third interactive exhibit they showed in the presentation. It was giant controllers. And this isn't entirely a new idea. I think the three of us have seen giant like NES controllers that require multiple people to play like at conventions and stuff, right? Like there's like a huge table size one
I could have sworn
Yeah,
I
Anime
used
Expo, I
one
think.
at Disneyland.
Or
And it
maybe
was like
Disneyland. Yeah, they're like, they're not,
because there was
you
like
know,
a
you can make
Super
them out of wood and...
and they had the Disney games, like the old Capcom ones.
Right. So this in of itself isn't that new, but Nintendo made giant controllers of every console up through the Wii, including a massive Wii remote that's basically a huge joystick on a swivel that two people have to push, which is just like, that to me is kind of like, that's suddenly, you know, they're taking games we played decades and put like a really interesting new spin on them in this kind of different exhibit. So I think that speaks to what seems to be maybe the strength of the Nintendo Museum from this direct that we saw. You know, at least what they've shown us so far is like, sure, Nintendo's involvement means you're going to get the squeaky clean parts of their history. But on the other side of that coin, it also means Nintendo's vision of what makes something like Nintendo is going to come through all that much louder and clearer in their own museums. So, like, I love how for a long time, Nintendo's collabs have always been about like really leveraging that their brand's about play and interactivity. And it's not just like, you know, a static thing. It's something that you can engage with. So it's not just a museum with static exhibits, and lots of museums have interactive exhibits, but Nintendo went like all the way in. And it's like, well, you're going to experience Nintendo history in ways you previously couldn't, or how you now never can because there's no one else that has this machine or does it this way or whatever. You know, like how Super Nintendo World, like they made gameplay in a theme park, or like the Lego Mario sets, you build levels and there's like a score count and stuff in the little Lego guy, in the Lego Mario. Or even like, what was it? The Mario Kart with the RC home circuit. Even Mario Kart home circuit, like they made an RC cart a controller for a video game. So it kind of feels like they're doing that sort of, I don't want to call it ethos, but that's sort of like mindset going into the museum, which is kind of cool. And it looks like there's some other stuff, like Angel, you're saying you browsed the website. I took a look too. There's a bunch of stuff where it's very much like, oh, things we know from Nintendo's past, but in new ways. Like there's a Game & Watch that you control with your body, like you're the Mr. Game & Watch. So it's kind of like a Kinect style, or maybe like the Bowser's Jr. challenge at Super Nintendo World. Like it's that style gameplay, but of Game & Watch. There's, I think they're bringing back the Love Tester, but it's not like this whole digital thing with like a camera and a screen and stuff. There's this Ultra Hand experience where it's not just like you grab stuff with it like the toy was, but they like built a game, it looks like, around it. There's like a pipe and some balls and stuff. I don't really know. But yeah, it just seems very much like this is a museum that's not just like, here's what Nintendo made, but like it's through the lens of like how Nintendo makes things. It's interactive. It's kind of new spins on things we've seen before, new spins on technology we've seen before, but used in like a Nintendo-y way. And I think it should hopefully, it almost actually kind of feels like the Super Nintendo World of museums. Like it has a very similar vibe to like how I think when they first started showing stuff in Super Nintendo World. And I think that's a cool concept. Like I know you might be going sooner, but I'm looking forward to one day getting to go, even if it is ultimately a corporate museum, giving a corporate view of a corporate history of a company. But yeah, it seems really fun from that 10 minutes. And they're singing toads. Did you see that part in the video? Did you skim to that part?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I didn't see it. I just saw like a brief image of Miyamoto tapping toad statues.
Oh, it's great. So he taps these
like,
toad statues, and one by one they start
that?
harmonizing. Yeah, it's wonderful. I would fly to Japan just for singing toads. So I'm very content with just that part of it. But yeah, no, I just thought it was I thought it would be a pretty not bare bones, but pretty simple museum, and then Nintendo like full on Nintendo'd it. And that was fun to see. So those were my quick thoughts off this afternoon's presentation. But I just, I could expound about Nintendo's process on anything forever, so I'll stop there. But, well, let's talk about something you guys have been up to. Take a break from me. Let's see. What's on the list here? Well, I know both of you over the weekend, separately, actually one of you today, saw Alien Romulus, right?
Yes, I did. I was the one that saw it today.
Right, you saw it today.
And that's
Angel,
why I
saw
didn't
it,
see the Nintendo thing.
That makes sense. Do you guys want to talk about it? Will there be spoilers? Should I step away? Tell me what
I think
you
I
need.
could talk about it without spoilers for sure.
It's pretty easy to talk about without spoilers. It's not, I wouldn't really consider it like one of the movies that you can really spoil. It's just like, it's just a spooky house in space with aliens.
And it is like the first, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the first Aliens horror movie in a good while, opposed to like when they went off on like the Prometheus tangent and stuff, right?
Well, I mean, Alien Covenant came out. Man, when did that come out?
I forgot about that movie.
From-
Completely
before
forgot
this-
that
Yeah,
existed.
Prometheus was in 2012, and Covenant I
Yeah.
think might
Yeah, it
have been
goes back.
2018. I don't remember.
Well, never mind my horror movie comment then, because 18 is definitely more recent than 12. So
I don't know, Angel. Do you want to take it away? I know you are a bigger Alien franchise fan than I am. I'm more of a casual Alien fan.
I don't know if I'd call myself like a huge Alien fan. I really enjoyed the first two movies. I don't care too much about the lore beyond that. In the sense that I just enjoyed the first two movies so much that I bought the Blu-rays. Like really got really excited to play Alien Isolation. Never got to finish it just because the timing was kind of
didn't
off.
you just preface this with you're not a big Alien fan and proceed to tell us all the Alien things you bought?
That's like three things.
Yeah, it's three more than us.
The movie that I liked that got me to like them, and I guess the one good game that looked good, and at least from what I've played so far, and from what my brother has told me because he beat it, like really liked. And beyond that, like honestly, like I think this was before Prometheus came out that I saw 1 and 2. I didn't watch 1 and 2 a long time. Well, I think I did watch 1 when I was growing up, and I think I had my eyes closed most of the time, so I just didn't really remember much. I just, I was very young. I thought it was like a spooky, scary movie. And then when I saw it much older, I'm like, oh, it's really not scary at all. Or at least I didn't find it scary. I just found it fascinating at that point. And yeah, then just really like that. But literally had zero interest to watch Prometheus, Covenant. I don't know. It just wasn't. Yeah,
Wasn't hitting.
Have you ever
I
seen-
just really like the first two, and that's kind of where that stops. I mean, my brother for Christmas and birthday, he got me a giant quarter scale xenomorph and a little 7-inch tall xenomorph. So those live at work.
Have you
Near
seen
me,
3
they're really
and
fun.
4?
I saw 3 growing up, but it wasn't really like I'm gonna sit down and watch it. It was like we had the VHS and someone was watching it, and I caught like most of it. So I remember a lot of things about it, but there is something there that I just remember. They're like, oh yeah, that kind of happened in this one. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I'm somewhere in that weird in between of I
But
really
that
love
now
Alien,
brings us
but just
to-
the first two.
To
yeah.
Romulus? Or where
Yeah.
you stand on Romulus?
Yeah. So Romulus, like, at least, honestly, I didn't even know it was coming out until I saw posters for it. I think when I was hanging out with you, they were like just posted of it along a wall, and I'm like, oh, there's a new Alien movie coming out. But that didn't push me to go seek out a trailer. Like, I think one eventually just was the pre-sizzle reel to one of the videos that I was watching, and the trailer was literally just shot of the audience like being scared, so they didn't really show the movie either. And I was like, oh, like normally I think the last time I saw an Alien trailer it was emphasizing the story, and this one like barely told you anything about it. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're just taking it back to basics, and that's pretty much what this was. It almost felt like the Force Awakens of Alien, if you can even call it that. Like it just someone could say like, oh, it's basically just the first movie but with different characters, which it kind of is. But I liked that it was simple. It was cool. I like the setups. Actually, I think the only problem, and even if you can even call it a problem, I guess there were maybe one or two times where my brother and I we thought like, okay, the stakes were already high, and then they just kind of kept like throwing more stuff on there that didn't really seem to add more outside of just making it go from like, well, this is intense to like, okay, all right, this is getting a little ridiculous. But but that's about it. Like it was fun. I enjoyed it. I'll probably get it on Blu-ray, but yeah. But it wasn't like oh my god, it was like amazing. But I really liked it. The sound design was really awesome. The sound of like them going up into the stratosphere was really cool in IMAX. Like it really felt like they were like in a bucket of junk spaceship that was about to collapse any second during the storm in the beginning of the movie. And that just the immersion or the ambiance, I guess, was just really cool. But that's pretty much where
I saw some
at.
social media chatter that has the grossest scene in any Alien movie.
No.
Would you vouch?
No.
You think people
I
are
don't think
overreacting?
so. I think I've seen grosser, or it's just
Alien vs. Predator
it's to par?
2. Alien vs. Predator 2 has some gnarly stuff on there. And then
Okay.
this movie, no. I wouldn't even say that this movie's scary, really. It's very suspenseful. Like there is a sense of tension and dread throughout the entire movie, which, I mean, that's I like my horror movies. I love tension. I love dread, and this movie definitely has. Well, personally, for me, like I didn't find this movie scary, but like I said, yeah, more tension and dread than anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There weren't. I think I felt like I was able to call out like, not like I was trying to, but it's just like, oh, like if I were to put a jump scare, it'd be right here, and there it was.
Yeah.
Usually,
And there it was.
And even so,
Yeah.
like the jump scares, I think I counted maybe 3 at most. So it's not even like.
oh yeah, it was very
full
minimal.
jump
Yeah,
scares.
for the most part, it's just like they're all like ticking time bombs. Like they've just introduced a thing. It's like, oh shoot, like they are hurry up, guys. Oh, it's gonna be here. They, and they just keep like showing how dire a thing is, and the rest just kind of plays itself at that point. But yeah, so they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, I liked it mainly because of that sense of atmosphere that this movie has. Like I was really really into the beginning, where I know you don't care for like the lore stuff, but like being on the ground floor of Weyland Yutani mining this planet that they're on. It's like something that hasn't necessarily ever been done before in an Alien movie. And so that was really cool, them just being on this mining colony. And like you said, like even that shot of them going to the space station, them being in like a bucket of trash spaceship, and with the sound design and the visuals, and just seeing like, oh, man, is this thing even going to make it to the space station? It's really good. The production design for this movie, and like I would say that for even the crappy Alien movies, the production design for these movies is always really really good. I really loved in this movie the shots of the like almost endless hallways. I was like, really really impressed by that. Like it's like, damn, this hallway goes on forever, and there's a couple of set pieces set in those hallways. Like I guess like a slight spoiler for this, but if you've seen the trailers, it's not too much of a spoiler. There's a part where they're just running through, just like the general hallway that takes you to all the different rooms, as the characters are being chased by an enemy or enemies. That I thought was really good. I thought the movie was directed really well. But yeah, this is a very much back to basics Alien movie, and even so, there's a lot of callbacks and references to the entire series, which is like hit or miss for some people. Like some people are like, "Hey, this movie is just purely for fan service." I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are some cringy references to the previous movies. Like there's a really really bad I rolled my eyes at it, but there's a really bad callback to Aliens and a line from that movie. I was like, okay, whatever. Like I don't know why this character would say that, but it is what it is. I was really impressed by this movie was always sold as, hey, you don't need to watch any movie except maybe Alien and Aliens. And just straight up, there's a huge reference to Prometheus, like right dab in the middle of the movie, which I was like, huh. I thought that this movie was not necessarily going to ignore everything that Prometheus and Covenant had in it, but the fact that it did reference those movies, and it's actually a pretty big plot point. I was like really impressed and like almost excited. Like I hate being that guy. Like, oh, I love my cinematic universes, but the fact that it even referenced Prometheus in such a big way was like, all right, cool. Like Prometheus is okay. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. That was very divisive.
Is that the one with the bone flute scene?
That is Covenant.
That's Covenant.
That's Prometheus.
So maybe I've seen Covenant and forgot I saw Covenant because I remember the bone flute thing.
The bone flutes. I'm trying to think of
where he's talking about when the Fassbenders are
playing
the ritual or
and
something.
There's two Fassbenders. That's Covenant. There's only one Fassbender in the movie. That's
okay. So I saw Covenant and I forgot I saw Covenant. All right. Yeah.
So remember, two Fassbenders equals Covenant.
All right. Two Fassbenders equals sequel to Prometheus because they had to double it up because you always go bigger and better with a sequel, right?
Yeah.
So.
I enjoyed the movie. Very pretty. Very, very pretty movie. Previously, I thought Prometheus was probably the best looking alien movie. Now, I probably give it to this. Just the production design of this movie is so good. Like, that is probably my favorite. That is the one aspect of this movie that I would give like a 10 out of 10. Just the production design, because a lot of it is so practical. Like, there's CG in this movie, and you can definitely tell when it's CG. But, like, the face huggers being practical makes them so much scarier. Like there's a shot of where they're just like silhouetted, and it's like, damn, that's terrifying. I would hate to go through that room, you know?
Yeah, it really made me want to jump back into the game. Like, just seeing the environments, that just took me back to like waiting for the doors to open and messing with the telephone to save the game. Like, I mean, both a testament to Isolation for getting the movie details right, and also just the movie for, just really immersing you in that kind of like, future sci-fi but with old tech world.
Yeah, that retro futurism.
Yeah, super cool. It just it feels more believable than I feel like some of the more modern sci-fi where everything is like holograms and stuff. Like, this just feels more real. Maybe just because it's easier. I don't know, but it's cool, and obviously serves really well itself to this kind of film. But yeah, I mean, definitely recommend it, Jason. I'd be surprised if you watch it because it's not really Jason coded, but a lot of horror movies aren't.
But then again, I watched Prometheus and Covenant, and I like those.
Were those really horror?
I mean, Prometheus leaned more on the sci-fi stuff than horror. Alien Covenant. Sure. Alien Covenant was just straight up an alien movie, so yeah, I would say that was horror. This one definitely leans closer to Covenant than Prometheus.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not scary at all, but it is full attention. Yeah. Like,
right,
and not as gnarly as I was expecting it to be, because this is the director of the Evil Dead remake, which I love that movie so much, and that movie is gnarly with its kills and with its gore. I was expecting a little bit more from this, and
an infamous cheese grater that I've heard so much about.
No, that's Evil Dead Rise, and even in Evil Dead Rise, that cheese grater doesn't really. It's not gnarly at all. But that movie's not that good either. So
I feel like my imagination is making it sound a lot worse than it will actually be. Yeah, it sounds pretty horrible.
I will say, on the topic of retro future design, I wasn't gonna bring it up because I didn't have a lot to say, but I watched all of the Fallout TV show recently. Binged in like 2 or 3 days. It was really enjoyable. I don't know. What do you mean, why? I really liked it. I can't say there's not a whole lot.
And then you fell out.
Yeah, and then you fell out. I feel like there's not a ton that I want to say, but the one thing I thought was really good in it was the world building and that kind of retro future aesthetic. Obviously a different retro future aesthetic than Alien, but when you said that instantly made me think of Fallout, which is, it's just a fun, its tone is kind of, there's like a mix of tones, but I think they balance it well. It almost has like, probably because it's sort of a Western, sort of a Star Wars-y theme, a Star Wars-y vibe at times, almost. But yeah, no, I really like the show, but again, it is mostly because you're talking production design and retro future. I made me think, Fallout did that really well as well, like blending practical with CG and stuff like that. So now on the anything else you guys want to say about Alien?
No, just solid movie. I can see why this movie was going to be a Hulu movie, but I'm actually like kind of glad that I saw it in theaters, because man, that set design, you definitely need to see it on the biggest screen that you can.
I might have to go see it before it leaves theaters. I kind of forgot I saw Covenant.
The Cinemark in Downey has like a huge. I don't know if it's a 1-to-1, but they have a Xenomorph on display.
Xenomorph. There's one at the Century City AMC as well.
Okay, so they probably just ship those out to all the theaters that can fit them.
Yeah, or like certain flagship locations or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But So you've been praising Alien, but now, other side of the coin, Kevin, I know you also saw Borderlands.
Unfortunately.
What is there to say about Borderlands, if anything? Like, how bad is it? It had, for everyone's reference, it went from 0% to last I checked, a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. So someone out there liked it some way.
Yeah. This movie,
Was it you?
This movie sucks.
Okay, it wasn't you.
I saw this movie through two lenses, right? As a casual Borderlands fan, that was one lens because I beat 1 and 2 and multiple of their DLCs. And then I played a little bit of the pre-sequel and never got around to playing 3 or the spin-off that just came out like last year, Tiny Tina's Wonderland. But I mean, I enjoyed that first game so much that I played it by myself, completely by myself, in its entirety. And that game is very rough to play by yourself. And then, the second one was just better in pretty much every aspect. So that was one lens that I saw the movie through. The other one was just like as a movie fan. But yeah, this movie is atrocious on all fronts. I don't know if I'd say that it's the worst movie I've ever seen. I think Fantastic Four, the
2015,
the reboot. Yeah, I think that's still
the one that builds up, and then just ends.
The one with Whiplash in it.
Yes, the one with Whiplash in it.
Yes, with the one with Whiplash.
Yeah,
Not to be confused with Whiplash, the Marvel character. But
is there a character named Whiplash?
There is a Whiplash in Is it Marvel?
In Iron Man 2, right? He's still the dude with the
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's
Mickey
right.
Rourke's
The bad
character.
guy.
That's right.
Yep.
No, yeah. As a Borderlands fan, this movie's really, really messy. Every character is completely miscast. Like Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart as Lilith and Roland.
Even Kevin Hart?
The character that he plays, Roland, is a serious character. Is like a no-nonsense straight man.
Him?
Exactly. So why is Kevin Hart playing him? Exactly. But even then, like, he didn't do his usual, like, he played him completely straight, which is surprising. But even then, it's like, I'm still seeing Kevin Hart. This is one of the very few times where I cannot not think of the actor. Because I'm just thinking, like, that's Kevin Hart. Cate Blanchett as Lilith, just, I don't want to sound ageist, but Lilith is like a late 20s character, and Cate Blanchett is obviously up there in her age. Similar with, there's a character called Patricia Tannis, who she's also like in her late 20s, and she's being played by damn, what's her name? I'm forgetting her name.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis, yep. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis will
Did
probably
they write them
win.
to make sense why they're that old?
No, there's absolutely zero reason why they do this. I think Eli Roth said, like, hey, I just like read the script and I just wanted the best actors to play these characters, so that's why they just happen to be like older women playing these characters. But like, even so, like, Jamie Lee Curtis will probably win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress or Best Guest Actress for The Bear, and will probably also win a Razzie for her performance here.
Oh my! I thought you were about to say she was going to win an award for this, and I was like,
no.
really? But okay, good
No,
swerve there with
not.
The Bear.
Um,
She is great in The Bear.
she's fantastic in The Bear, and
Oh yeah, speaking of the Bear, I started watching it.
oh, nice.
Good. How in are you?
I don't know because YouTube is giving them to me in random order. I'm just
Oh
thinking
God. No.
the algorithm finally
No.
decided it was time for me to watch the Bear in short form.
No. No.
Anyways,
Back to you, Kevin, to real viewing habits like real people do.
I don't know why you would get Jack Black as Claptrap if you're just going to throw a voice modulator on him so that he sounds like Claptrap. At that point, just get anybody. And
Get the game's voice actor at that point.
I mean, the game's voice actor and Randy Pitchford from Gearbox had a falling out, so that's why he didn't voice Claptrap in 3, if I believe. Yeah, like there's obviously references to like a lot of the gun vendors and a lot of the corporations that have made the main I guess setting of Borderlands a terrible place to be. But like Borderlands is known for like the second trailer or the first trailer for Borderlands 2 is like, hey, this game has a gazillion guns in it. I think that was literally the words.
Yeah.
The characters only use the same weapons the entire movie. there is absolutely zero DNA of the game itself in here, aside from like Lilith has some powers and she briefly uses them. And she doesn't even use them the same way that she used them in the game too. It's just, obviously I wasn't expecting a one-to-one adaptation because especially that first game has absolutely zero story. But they did adapt its terrible ending where like where if you know Borderlands, the story of Borderlands is, hey, you play as a vault hunter, trying to unlock this vault, which is supposed to have a bunch of untold riches as soon as you open it. And in that first game, you're greeted not with untold riches, but with like a giant monster. And that's basically the same thing that happens in this movie. So they adapted that part. Yeah, that part sucks as being a Borderlands fan. As a movie fan, this movie blows something else, man. It's incompetently shot. The set pieces are miserable. I remember there's one set piece where like two characters are on top of like the storage container that's maybe like 10 to 15 feet off the ground, and the directing is supposed to make it like, oh, they're about to fall off. I wonder how they're gonna get out of this situation, and like, oh, it's just so miserable. What else? The CG in this movie is god awful, and there's multiple shots where you see these characters. And you're like, they're clearly not where they're clearly in front of a green screen. And right. It's so bad. The writing's terrible. Like, Tiny Tina is a character that was introduced in Borderlands 2, and she's sort of this, I don't know if I was neurotic character. But there's a charm to her. Like, and Tiny Tina just isn't she's a very divisive character as well. Where some people love her and some people hate her because of the kind of character that she is. In this movie, everybody's gonna hate her. Like, even people that love Tiny Tina like me, like, she's so annoying. She's so, you could tell that they were trying to do justice with her character and just failing on every single front.
Just took it too far.
Like I said, she's annoying in the games, but there's a sort of charm that just isn't present here with her adaptation. And I don't want to put it on the performance of the actress at all, because this movie script is just
writing,
god
direction. Sometimes an actor can make it work, but it's not all on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's hard when your hands are tied in that regard. Yeah,
and that's why like I don't with like Cate Blanchett and like Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't put it completely on them why their performances are so terrible. I honestly think Jamie Lee Curtis probably just wanted to get a paycheck and just call it a day, right?
And she does love like games and stuff. Interestingly, like, she's very plugged into like MMO. I think it's MMOs or something. So I could see some connection there, maybe some connective tissue of why she's doing it. Maybe.
Sure. But yeah, this movie's terrible. They clearly set up a sequel that's not going to happen because this movie bombed.
Yeah, it underperformed.
Yeah, this movie probably should have been released maybe, I don't know, like 10 years ago. Yeah, just god awful movie.
Well, that's going on the back of the box, that quote. God awful movie. Well, while you guys were watching a bunch of movies, I was checking out a Switch game, and it's also on Steam, that I wanted to, the demo of a Switch game that I wanted to talk about real quick. Have either of you heard of, I think it's pronounced Bakeru, Bakeru, for the Switch? I'd be shocked if you did, because it came out of nowhere.
Ring
any bells? So if you're not familiar, it's not your fault. Bakeru did basically come out of nowhere. So it's a 3D platformer by the team at Goodfeel, so the studio behind Nintendo titles like all the Woolly and Crafted Yoshi games and the Yarn Kirby games. But way before that, this same studio, Goodfeel, was responsible, had some of the same people, I should say, that were responsible for Konami's Goemon series. which I think we briefly talked about how some of the Goemon developers went on to work at Good Feel when we learned Good Feel was making Princess Peach Showtime. And I thought it was weird that Nintendo buried that fact, because it's a fact that's exciting to me, because Goemon was one of those games I'd rent repeatedly as a kid. So the potential was there, even if Nintendo didn't want to say so, that, there's something, these devs might have something up their sleeve. And I was kind of surprised I ended up like reliving the days of my Blockbuster game rental rotation and trying this demo of their first original game, which is Bakeru, I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah, it turns out the goodwill of being like the Goemon guys was able to manifest in a different way with their own IP, which is Bakeru. So it's like Goemon set in Japan, also of a similar aesthetic kind of to Goemon. It was announced and released in Japan last year without any real sign of it coming stateside. Like it even made it into a Nintendo Direct, but Nintendo never put it in the US Direct. It was only in the Japanese Direct. But then out of nowhere, like a week and a half ago, Spike Chunsoft announced that they're not just bringing the game to the West, localized, in just a couple weeks on the eShop, but they had this pretty hefty demo out to try, and given the pedigree of those involved, I tried. And let me tell you that there's definitely something here. Like it, obviously, among those who are aware of the game and talking about it, they are making these Goemon comparisons, just like I did, and rightfully so. I mean, the game stars a blue-haired guy out exploring Japan in a platforming game, which is basically, if you guys ever played Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on the N64 or any other game in that series, that's basically what the game is. But I think if anything, Bakeru is actually kind of the amalgamation of like a whole bunch of like different N64 era platformers and even some other games altogether. Like in the demo, they had a level that was basically Diet Star Fox 64 with you flying into the screen and shooting enemies. You're inside this like boxy dog looking ship thing, but it was basically Star Fox 64, kind of lighter fare. And then elsewhere in the demo, they also had a giant robot battle where you're like fighting on top of the city and destroying it, and it just screamed Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee to me. Like it wasn't as deep of mechanics, neither was the Star Fox part, but like that was kind of surprising. I mean, Godzilla was another game I used to rent all the time, much like Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. So it's funny that both of them were in like the same new game. Regardless, the point is, this game was kind of interesting. It had a lot of things going on, and then there's the core platforming of it as well. So here is probably where it most directly draws from the vibe of Goemon for anyone who's played. Have you guys ever played Goemon? Am I making reference you don't know?
Yeah, you keep saying that, and I know what he looks like, and that's about it.
So, okay. Kevin, have you ever played Goemon?
Absolutely not.
All right. So, Goemon, as a game on the N64, was this whole game of Goemon took place in Japan. You were going around exploring environments and kind of like some light platform. You had a little stick you were hitting people with to get coins from enemies. You use those coins to buy things, to get new items, to do more things, and you're finding secrets in these areas. That's the gist of Goemon. It was like an N64 era
where you play as
kind of
Goemon.
Adventure platformer. And you play as him, yes. Or one of three other characters, if I remember correctly.
In the game Goemon.
In the game Goemon. Makes sense, Goemon. Spelled Goemon, if you're thinking, oh, Goemon, like G-O. Nope, there's an E. But anyway, this game is very similar to that the whole game takes place throughout, I don't know if you just heard this a second ago, a version of Japan, and you're going basically prefecture, essentially seeing all that Japan has to offer. Just like Goemon. So in the demo, that translates to two different environments. There's like a foresty island area and like an urban city. And along the way, you have to like explore nooks and crannies to find all sorts of collectibles, just like Goemon. One of my actual favorite things they did, one of the collectibles in Bakeru is trivia about Japan. They literally turned fun facts, which you guys know I love to learn and share, into items. You can get 5 of them per level. You go meet a little guy, I think his name is Scoop, and he just like tells you a fun fact. You have to find Scoop 5 different times around each level, and you learn 5 different fun facts about that particular prefecture that you're in the level in this alternate Japan. So I thought that was kind of a fun little type of collectible, I thought. But anyway, main character himself, Bakeru, sort of like Goemon, has a big old stick that he uses to attack enemies. So far it's very, you're running around these levels, you're trying to find items, you're whacking enemies with your sticks, he actually has 2 of them, to get coins. It's all very Goemon. But from there, the game kind of morphed into
very Goemon.
Something super Goemon. Go Goemon. No, but like It wasn't just Goemon. Like it felt Goemon at the start, and that kind of evolved as I was playing it into. I'm gonna keep saying Goemon, but no, it evolved into like other things from that era. Like I remember Goemon being an adventure platformer, like I was saying to you guys, but Bakeru really kind of reminds me more of like action platformers from the N64 era, from like the 90s and early 2000s. Like playing the demo reminded me a lot of like the level structure and design of like other frequent rentals of mine from that time. Like there was a game called Chameleon Twist. Did you guys ever play Chameleon Twist?
No,
It was just
Chameleon
Chameleon
Twist 20 more
I'm
times.
just making stuff up. So there's a game called Chameleon Twist. It's
None
about
of these
these
games are real,
two
by the way. None of them.
chameleons that shoot their tongues out and grab on things. But anyway, the level design is kind of like a little more open. Like it's guiding you, but it's almost like Kirby and the Forgotten Land in terms of scope or scale, or Mario 3D World kinda. But Chameleon Twist was an early one of that type that reminded me of. Someone I'm friends with on Twitter, when we were talking about it, suggested maybe like, did you guys ever play the single player modes in the Bomberman games on the N64? That kind of level structure and flow, like this kind of is reminiscent of Bakeru. So like it just felt a lot like it had the look and aesthetic of Goemon, but then all these other N64 influences. And like even of that time, every N64 platformer had like that one unique mechanic to stand out from the other platformers, right? So like Bomberman obviously had his bombs. Chameleon Twist has like the main character's tongue, which is like kind of, it's like a super souped up Yoshi tongue. And here it's Bakeru's sticks, which is actually two sticks, and not even sticks, they're actually taiko drumsticks. So each stick is mirrored to a different shoulder button on your controller. And you can use the left to control his left hand, the right to control his right hand, and you can do different drumming patterns to do different things. So you can, if you alternate your drum pattern, for example, you will kind of bounce between enemies almost in like a light Bayonetta, Devil May Cry sort of action flow, which is also weirdly enough reminiscent of Chameleon Twist, which is a real game where you could peg your tongue to a bunch of different posts and then kind of have it like flow through them. But also means like if you hold down the two triggers together, you can do like a slam down. There's all these different moves you can do using his two taiko drumsticks, and you're drumming with each stick as if it's each of his hands. So that's kind of how it stands out from Goemon, where it's just one attack button, but it's still, feels like a 3D platformer of that era in all the other ways. And I just thought it was like kind of a cool send up to that whole era of N64 platformers. And then on top of that, it goes on to have like some real variety just in the demo, even with like the Star Fox style mode and like the Godzilla gameplay shakeup. Like it also was just really well polished and has a lot of personality. It feels like Goodfield definitely took notes from their time working with Nintendo. Like quite literally, the font they use during cutscenes is the exact font that Nintendo uses as its default Switch game font. So like if you look at the menus in Super Mario Party, if you look at like Ring Fit Adventure, they all have that same kind of slightly boxy font, exact same font in this game. So it all left me just really pleasantly surprised. Like I know I said Goemon 15 times, I referenced a bunch of games you don't understand, but in my nostalgic head of my blockbuster game rotation, from when I was a kid, this like hit like 3 or 4 different vibes at once. And I, going from not knowing this game existed to it being out like in like 2 weeks on September 3rd, I'm very likely to be picking this up. I might wait for a physical version, which hasn't been confirmed yet, but if they're,
main character does kind of
I
like
might
Goemon.
cave. Right? He even looks like Goemon. Like the whole thing just screams Goemon, and then they just piled in all these other references to other games. It's Goemon. It was
I'm
just
just watching
really
a quick
pleasantly
slice
surprised.
of gameplay just to kind of get a better visual representation because, like, contrary to
Because I'm making
what you would
references you
expect,
didn't understand.
yeah, like just saying Goemon over and over again doesn't really tell me much.
There's like two listeners of
I
this
like
podcast who are like, "Oh my god, Goemon," and know exactly what I'm talking about. They're saying, "Oh my god, oh my Goemon." Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a cute little friendly art style
It's
that looks
a cool little.
Yeah, it doesn't look cheap. It has a level of polish that's like it looks like this is like an established franchise already.
Yeah, and it's a brand new thing. Goodfield's taking that Nintendo money and running with it, and they're inspired by Goemon. But yeah, so I just wanted to shout out Bakeru because I feel like it's not getting a whole lot of attention outside of a small contingent of hardcore players who remember Goemon. And shout out to the 2 other people in the world who played Chameleon Twist and got that reference. I'm 2 for 2 with my really obscure N64 game references. I'm just gonna point out, by the way, Chameleon Twist was a big enough game that it got a sequel on the N64. So there is a Chameleon Twist 2. Now, granted, being big enough on N64 means you sold like 10 copies. but it was enough for there to be 2 chameleon twists. So look that up sometime. You'll think it did not age well because it really didn't, but look it up sometime. Anyway, that's Bakeru. Let's go back to things people actually know exist in the world. What we got right on the list here? Angel, it looks like you have been watching Kite Man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that is true. I did randomly catch it because it's on Max. I knew there was going to be a spin-off of sorts of Harley Quinn at some point. I don't think it was just announced at some point. I forgot about it. And yeah, as per the aforementioned card sorting, I was just kind of looking for something to have in the background. I've been in a Batman the Animated Series kick lately, so I've just been rewatching, that show from the very beginning, which, damn, holds up really well. Some of those episodes are still really, really intriguing. Not to mention the voice acting. Damn, Kevin Conroy's Batman is just so freaking good. But a lot of people in that show are just really, really good. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like... It feels like a show that could have come out today. Obviously, some of the visuals do look dated. It looks very noticeably not HD. But you can also see... You could see every drawing. Because, it was drawn on actual cells. And that has a nice charm to it that has kind of been lost. But any doodle. It just... it was one of those recommended things that pops up in the home screen. Like, hey, Kite Man is out. And it was only 5 episodes. Knocked it out in... however long it takes to watch those 5 episodes. I don't remember what the runtime was. I just started them, kept hitting next episode, and then they were done. And it was fun. It was fine. It had a couple funny moments, but it definitely felt like a spin-off show. None of it really felt like it had a lot of crazy weight to it. I never thought Kite Man was necessarily a interesting enough character to warrant a whole sideshow. I mean, I don't hate him. He's fine. I mean, he's funny sometimes. But if anything, I think when we got the characters that popped up, like Lex Luthor or some of the other, I guess, usuals from the other show, it got more interesting. But yeah, it was just fine. It was just basically a D-team superhero show because the normal Harley Quinn show already showcased a lot of B and C tier villains, and this one just kind of takes it down lower, but not in a bad way. Just it's really showing you what other heroes there are in the DC universe. Like a character named Six Pack, who I think his power is just being drunk. I already forgot what it does, but it just looks like he's always drinking. But yeah, not too much to say, unfortunately. But it was fun. It goes by really quick. It's inoffensive. If you enjoyed the Harley Quinn show, there's no reason not to watch this. It's just kind of more of that kind of humor. But if anything, it just makes you, I guess, look forward to whenever they bring back another season of the main show.
So it sounds like you're feeling more of a heck yeah about Kite Man than a hell yeah.
Yeah, because, I still enjoyed it. It was like, yeah, it's Kite Man. Yeah.
And that's what they're going to change the name to, in that intonation and everything. Yeah. Kite Man, yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, I guess that was Kite Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goemon. Okay, last topic. Unless, Kevin, do you have any curveballs you want to throw in before we get to the last thing on the list here?
No, not really.
Any games you want to reference that I haven't heard of, just to even it out?
Oh, no. Let me look at my Steam.
There's probably plenty. But while you look that up, so I did do one other thing that I thought was kind of interesting to talk about. I saw the movie Ratatouille, which, a lot of people have done. But I saw it through a program or a thing called Fork and Film. And what they did, and they do this for a bunch of movies, but what they do is they pair a meal with the movie. So when key things happen in the movie, you are simultaneously
so fork wasn't a censored way to say a different word.
No, it's fork like with a knife and a spoon, like a utensil.
I was like, they're taking the drive-in theaters in a different direction. Interesting.
No, but so like it's really cool. I mean, it's like gourmet. It's like fine dining. It's not cheap. It was a gift for Rachel and I to be able to tag along to. But I mean literally a gift, not like, oh, it was such a blessing we got to go. It was such a gift, but it was a gift and it was actually really cool. But yeah, no, they paired everything. It's like you sit down and they like give you an appetizer as the movie's starting, and it was like a salad that was in a little baby trash can because that's where the rats were living at the start of the movie. And then like when Remy first Remy, right? Yeah, Remy first discovers, the combo of like cheese and mushroom. They like came out with this like giant mushroom that was like cooked with cheese and stuff. And then as they go through the movie, there's one point obviously where he's helping Linguini make soup for the first time, and they brought us out a replica of the pot of soup in the movie, but miniaturized. A replica of the spoon they're using to mix everything, but miniaturized. And then we had like herbs and salt and cheese to the side, and we gotta like make our own little soup with the same pot and spoon but baby size while watching them do it. And then as the movie goes on, they give you other dishes, and of course when the ratatouille is served towards the end of the movie, out comes ratatouille that was plated the exact same way. At one point,
wait, they brought in an actual rat or a little like animatronic?
No actual. They came close. We at one point when the rats are worried about rat poison and like there's rat traps and stuff, and his brother gets stuck in the rat trap. They spoiler alerts for Ratatouille from the year 2004 or whatever. Sorry guys, but when all that happens, they bring out a plate that has a untrapped mouse trap with food on it, and then next to it is a rat poison, which was like an appletini liqueur thing, but had dry ice in it. So when you dripped like the poison in, it started like, or when you poured it in or whatever, it started to like, smoke and sizzle, and it was all very cool how they did it. And it was just such a different, like, obviously there's like Alamo and AMC and stuff where they serve you just like have some wings or have some popcorn. Oh, well, popcorn's more, but have some wings or have a burger or something with your movie. This isn't something you do for every movie. It probably only makes sense with food themed movies, like maybe Chef would be another good one. But it was a really cool way to watch a movie that had a lot of food in it, because it was perfectly to the minute the stuff was served as it was happening on screen, and it was on a rooftop in downtown LA on a very nice night. Like it was a really cool experience. I don't think it's cheap, but if it's in a few cities. So if anyone listening is in Vegas or I think New York, or if we have people over in London or here in LA, like they do it in a few different cities. They do it for Ratatouille. They do it for Shrek, of all things. They do it for Nightmare Before Christmas. But Ratatouille was definitely probably the best fit, and it was just it's something different to do. But it's a really cool, yeah, it's not like what you're gonna eat from Shrek, but it's just like something, like I said, something kind of different. It felt like it was like an official Disney thing, but it wasn't. But just like the quality of how they did everything and the timing was a cool experience. So, and they pair wines with it, and they give you champagne when you get there. It's like a whole gourmet thing. So just throwing it out there. We're not like a sponsored ad or anything, but just like it was a cool experience. I've never done anything quite like that, so it was fun.
I'd love to do that for the menu. That'd be so funny.
That would be. Oh yeah, actually. They still serve it. I don't think they call it that. If you want the burger from the menu, West Hollywood, Herb's Burgers has it. Like the exact, it's like an official one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I went there, Rich and I went there actually right after we watched the menu, because we got wind that it was there like the day before we watched, and it's quite good. I see why that burger has the power it has, yes. I think it's still there on their online menu. I'm not sure if they're officially promoting it still, because it's been, 18 months. But yeah, the rest of the food from menu, or like if they did it with the bear, like with the full bear menu sometime, that would be cool. Like it does elevate. It's like one more sense that you don't usually have when engaging with a movie that's being activated, so to speak. Like having taste involved is a cool extra layer.
That does seem really, really cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Is Ratatouille the best Pixar movie?
Now, it's funny you say that. I have long held the belief that WALL-E, well, I don't know if it's the best, but WALL-E is my favorite Pixar movie. And I said that recently to a group of people and was met with gasps and guffaws and no. So I'm questioning.
WALL-E is definitely my favorite Pixar movie.
Yes, it's my favorite. But yeah, I was met with a chorus of, what?
Huh.
So
I feel that's usually a lot of people's go to that and like Up.
They were shocked I didn't say
one of
Toy
the Toy
Story.
Stories.
The collective of them.
They shocked it wasn't what?
Toy Story.
Toy Story 1?
Or Toy Story 2. A lot of people were saying Toy Story 2, and I'm like, I don't know.
Trilogy. Damn.
Yeah, I don't know why 2 is getting so much.
Toy Story 2 is my favorite.
Toy Story 2 is good, but it's no 1 or 3.
Now,
to be fair, a lot of people are saying that like 2 were people who appreciate Jessie's inclusion, and were saying, oh, like a strong female character. These were like, oh, it's cool to have a strong female character when I was that age. So I get why they might have gravitated towards 2. But I was shocked at the guffaws at me saying Wall-E. So no, to answer your question, Kevin, I don't think Ratatouille is the best, but it is a very charming movie and always has been.
Well, as long as it wasn't a Cars Are Brave, it's fine.
IGN released a while ago like their Pixar movies like ranked. And Ratatouille I think was 8, and people were livid that it was at number 8.
Did they want it number 1 or just like in the top 5?
No, yeah, they wanted it number 1.
Well, there's a reason I've always kind of liked IGN. They know where to put. I wouldn't say Ratatouille deserves 8, but yeah, one of these podcasts we should rank Pixar movies. One of the episodes we don't have as much going on.
I haven't seen them all.
Like a tier list we can all agree with. Like we have to actually
build it.
We have to hash it out in an episode. Like we have to go through it of the ones we've seen. Maybe we limit to just the ones we've all seen.
Then the thumbnail could literally just be. Oh wait, we don't have to build anymore. I was gonna say the thumbnail could literally just be the tier list. But
yeah, we don't do thumbnails anymore. That's
yeah.
The thumbnails in our minds will be the tier list. Yes. But yeah, I think unless anyone has anything else, we can just end with Ratatouille. Ratatouille served with Ratatouille.
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Kevin, you good?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm good, but yeah, I'm done.
You're okay? You're hanging in there? You are good because you agree that Wall-E is your favorite Pixar movie, so that makes you great. Not just good, but great. So with that...
It surprises me. Damn.
What's your favorite, Angel, real quick, before we do a full tier list? I think I know, but just say it for the people.
I don't know. It's always changing.
Wow. What was the last one?
The last one?
The last favorite. The most recent favorite.
Probably.
Watch this guy say Cars 2.
Didn't people really like Incredibles 2?
Probably. I thought they really didn't like it. They said
it felt kind of samey, which makes Incredibles 3 interesting because they're bringing back Brad Bird to work on it in some capacity. And I don't think he worked on 2. But I could be wrong about that.
Written and directed by Brad Bird, Incredibles 2.
Oh.
No. Well,
woof.
We should have ended 20 seconds ago, guys. There went my credibility. Boy.
Right.
Rough.
Time for the house.
Well, I don't even know if you're going to believe me with what I'm about to say, but you can find our podcast on all the podcast apps on the internet. Not all of them, but a lot of them. You can find them on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Amazon Music, on Pandora, on iHeartRadio. We are on YouTube at Random Nintendo. Or we're not, because I thought Brad Bird wasn't involved with Incredibles 2. So maybe none of what I said was true. But if it is true, you can also find us individually on social platforms. I am JSR7 on Twitter and Threads. Kevin is KVN Gomi on Twitter. And Angel is World of Weros over on Instagram. And as with an S at the end of Weros. Or is it? I didn't know that Brad Bird did too. Maybe it's not true. But regardless, that's all I've got. I'm going to kick it to Kevin for the final word.
Watch the new Dan trailer. It's amazing.